With the OnePlus Nord, that means true north, OnePlus has really upped its game when they released it a few months ago. So is it true that OnePlus has come back to its roots, offering the best value for money? Let's find out. A wise man once said that there are 5 pillars to a great smartphone: a great set of cameras, a great screen, great performance, a great battery life, and a great build quality. The OnePlus Nord sort of satisfies all these characteristics and still doesn't break your bank. Right off the bat, let's talk about the camera. The Nord sports a quad camera setup, including a 48 megapixel f1.8 primary shooter, an 8 megapixel f2.3 wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensor for those portrait shots, and a 2 megapixel macro lens for close-ups. The selfie cameras are equipped with a 32 megapixel IMX616 sensor that is technically better than the rear one, and it also has a 105 degree wide angle sensor for those group selfies, if that ever happens in 2020. The main 48 megapixel lens has a Sony IMX586 sensor, which is the same as that of its bigger brother, the OnePlus 8. The primary lens shoots in 12 megapixel in default, unless you choose the 48 megapixel option. It is a good point and shoot camera for quick shots where you might not have the time to choose various settings before taking a photo. Given a lot of light, the photos it takes are up to the mark. The great HDR, deep blacks, and an ideal exposure give you quite a usable photo. Coming to the 48 megapixel mode, it uses the pixel binning technology where it stitches 4 12 megapixel shots to form a 48 megapixel photo. It uses the quad pixel sensor, that is the main one, where each quadrant takes a photo and then bins all of them into one. The photos coming off of the 48 megapixel sensor are tack sharp, although it is restraining in some ways. For example, it doesn't allow you to punch into a shot while shooting. It has a worse HDR than that of the 12 megapixel mode. The sensor requires plenty of light to take a detailed photo, or else you can easily notice grain in your photos. Since it is a bigger sensor, there are some fringing issues with the photos. That is, the part of the subject that is closer to the camera is more in focus than the part that is farther away from the camera. This happens on every phone having a higher megapixel sensor like 48, 64 or even 108. Also, since there is no telephoto camera on this phone, the zoom is digital. It crops into your main photo that gets you a little bit closer to the subject, but there is noticeable noise when you punch in digitally. So I suggest you to stick to the 12 megapixel sensor for the highest quality in your photos. The ultra-wide angle camera is the next camera on the array. It does its job, producing those wide dramatic shots which you might come to expect on any ultra-wide sensor. All this aside, it does not have the same crispiness found on the main camera. The images from this sensor are a bit soft in nature because of that. If there isn't enough light, then the advent of noise is inevitable. Oh, and it does take pretty good photos in a lot of light, which is expected. Coming to the depth sensor and the macro camera. Frankly speaking, they shouldn't exist. The macro camera is just there for a namesake. You could just take a normal photo and crop in, and you would have a better photo. The depth sensor is no less. There is no noticeable difference if you are using the sensor than if you are not. The portrait shots look decent with an eccentric edge detection. Sometimes it works and other times it just gives up. The selfie camera does a really good job. It takes really detailed photos, it has a high dynamic range, doesn't saturate the skin tones. Also, it doesn't apply any of those beauty modes out of the gate, although you do have the option. The wide angle selfie is good only when it comes to faces, or else it just softens everything up. As you can see here, my t-shirt lost all of its detail in the wide angle mode. Coming to the nightscape, this allows you to take photos in environments that are void of good lighting conditions. There is noise in the photos it takes, but it is considerably better than the shots taken with the normal camera mode. And there is always improvement for features like nightscape through software updates, so I wouldn't worry about that. Coming to video, the main sensor can only shoot in 4K 30 FPS, which is nothing special considering other phones out there. The colors are a bit saturated than that you see in real life. It also has an optical image stabilization, which is rare to see at this price range, so that's a bonus. The ultra-wide camera is usable. I mean, frankly, it loses the sharpness, which is kind of expected from the 8 megapixel sensor, and I'm just happy that it's there. Not many phones offer a decent ultra-wide sensor at this bandwidth of a price. On the contrary, the front camera offers a 4K 60 FPS mode, which is useful for people to make TikTok videos. Oh, sorry TikTok users. Otherwise, the camera is quite potent with the features it packs. When we compare the OnePlus Nord's camera to its contemporaries, the iPhone SE and the Pixel 4a, it is a step below them. When you consider the HDR plus video on the iPhone or the contrasty and punchy photos of the Pixel, they leave the Nord behind in this department. So you are definitely not buying the Nord for its camera. Coming to something that the Nord really shines in, that is the display. It sports a 6.4-inch FHD Plus AMOLED screen with a 90Hz refresh rate, and it looks really good. The screen is the most important part of the phone as you are going to be staring at it every day. The colors are great. There is no off-axis discoloration of the screen as you might observe on some LED screens at this price range, and it gets quite bright. You can easily view the screen outdoors in direct sunlight. It has a pill cutout on the left hand top corner, which I have learned to live with, and it is less obstructive than a notch in the middle of the phone. The 90Hz refresh rate, albeit it is only a slight upgrade from 60Hz, the chances of you going back to a 60Hz screen will drastically come down once you are used to the smooth experience it offers. I'm not exaggerating, believe me. Next, coming to the performance it offers. It is equipped with a Snapdragon 765G, which is Qualcomm's latest mid-range chipset offering 5G support. It has the X52 5G modem, which is bundled with the chipset. The G in the name suggests improved graphical performance, which allows to play graphically demanding games on the smartphone. For all those Geekbench nerds out there, the Nord scored 604 in single-threaded and 1959 on multi-threaded applications. Although it doesn't compare to the A13 Bionic in the iPhone SE, it does hold up its own when it comes to day-to-day tasks. There was no stutter when I opened any apps, be it Facebook, YouTube, or even if I load up a few tabs on Chrome, or even if I play a game. The 8GB RAM or the 12GB in this device works hassle-free without closing any apps in the background. Also, the Nord comes with 128GB or 256GB of UFS 2.1 storage, which is not as fast as that of UFS 3.0 storage, but it is fast enough to handle normal tasks. I mean, people who tend to buy a phone in this price range just want it to work properly rather than demanding all the bells and whistles offered by the flagships. And I can assure you, the Nord works pretty damn well. I played COD Mobile on this phone at its highest graphics and it didn't have any problem. Although you may be able to see some stutter when you might start doing some heavy multitasking, like opening 2 or 3 intense games, a few tabs on Chrome, Lightroom to edit all your photos at the same time. That is something for the big boys to handle, the flagships. If you are one of them power users, I don't think you should be considering this device. Okay, moving on, let's talk about battery life. The OnePlus Nord has a 4115 mAh battery, which will run you all day long and maybe a few hours in the next morning. It has a USB Type-C charging port, which can charge at 30 watts fast charging, or as OnePlus likes to call it, warp charging. It tops up the phone to 70% in 30 minutes, which is insane fast to be honest. A 0 to 100 will take you an hour and 5 minutes, which is also quite crazy. Coming to the build quality, the Nord is a plastic glass sandwich where the front and the back are made of Corning Gorilla Glass 5 and the side rails are made from plastic. It does give a premium feeling, although it is not cool to the touch. The Nord comes in this dope blue marble color and a more subdued grey onyx for those minimalists out there. The speakers on this device are decent. Although it is only a mono speaker setup firing from the bottom and can be easily covered while watching a video or playing games. Listen to the sound output here. It's quite surprising, to be honest, that even at a lower cost, these earbuds do a really good job of maintaining the quality of music. They do suffer a loss of sound quality compared to the Wireless 2, mainly due to the lack of Qualcomm's aptX HD codec, although they do have the AAC codec that keeps it pumping. Oh, and it has a decent earpiece speaker too, which sounds clear during phone calls. Talking about the in-screen fingerprint sensor, it is an optical sensor and it works every time I try to unlock the phone. So no problems there. Also, it has some sick animations to choose from, so that's good. This brings us to the main reason you would buy a OnePlus in the first place: the software experience. The Nord has Android 10 with Oxygen OS 10.5 skin over it. It is a minimalist skin, and to put it bluntly, I don't think I would go back to any other phone after using this. It offers everything you need with a bunch of customizations. The themes on this device can be changed to any color you want, present on the color palette. You get an amazing ambient display which shows the time, the date, and a few notifications, and also the song that is currently playing. This is going to shortly be updated with the always on display, which is much anticipated on the Oxygen OS 11 update. I could go on for hours talking about the customization you can do on this phone, but I think the phone is made for you to make it your own, and that is the main advantage of owning an Android device. Coming to the cardinal feature of this device: the price point. In India, it is priced at 25,000 rupees or 400 euros elsewhere, which is a great price considering all the specs it has. All the competitors at this price, namely the Galaxy M51, the iPhone SE, and the Pixel 4a, also bring a lot to the table, but they do not bring it all. The Pixel might have a great camera, but the screen and the performance on the Nord is much better. The processor on the iPhone might be miles ahead, but it doesn't have a great battery life and the screen is potato quality. The M51 might have a great battery life, but it doesn't have the 90Hz refresh rate or a good camera array. So to put it all together, OnePlus might have just been successful this time in making a true flagship killer, and no one can do anything to stop it. So there you have it. That is the review of the OnePlus Nord. It is available for 24,999 on Amazon and OnePlus's website. It is available in three variants, namely a 664, 8128 and a 12256, which I've got here. It's available in three colors: a blue marble, a grey onyx and a grey ash, which is a matte finish. You can find the links to all of them in the description below. And as per always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tech content. Until then, this is Raghav.